It was a starry night in the world of chrono life. Love lays on the ground and slowly regains her consciousness. She suddenly jolts up, recalling what happened. She looks around, wondering where she is. Another being appears behind her, commenting on her conscious state. It was Leor. Leor says that they're in a forest that's around 2 miles away from the front village. Love is surprised by the distance and asks how they ended up there. Leor explains that they got blasted away by the shot from the fallen meteor, since they were closest to where it landed. Leor suddenly flaps her wings and floats into the air. Oh, I thought those wings were for decoration. Leor tells Love that they should get back to the front village as soon as possible, or else everyone's lives will be at risk. Her wings continue to flap behind her, and Love only looks up at her, engrossed in those flapping things behind Leor. Love's eyes sparkle, unable to take her eyes off its cuteness. Love is so much in love with Leor's wings that various thoughts about the wings completely fill her head. Her eyes bulge out as her overwhelming hunger to touch it becomes apparent in her face. Leor is confused by Demon King's expression and asks if she is alright. She shivers at the lustful look she sees, but she still reminds Love that they should hurry. With shiny eyes and a bloody nose, Love proclaims that she's fine and tells Leor they should fly together. Love activates the essence of the Demon King and unleashes her horns and wings. The noise is at 1.3%, and the sync status is stable. Love then flies up to where Leor is, with the crazed look still in her eyes. The two depart together, despite Leor feeling off and Love secretly planning to touch those wings when she gets a chance. This Demon King completely forgot that the other was supposed to be another rival. Back in the front village, Jippery shouts as he dashes into the enemy with Cat's Soul Scratch. Another user, who looks like a green version of Chun-Li, uses a Powerball. Hadoken instead of a Kikosho. Users and surrounded the enemy. A female mage wielding a staff twirls around and uses flame missile on the enemy. The giant bug-like monster catches fire and burns up. Its loud cry can be heard throughout the land. Star expresses her amazement at everyone's participation. She can't help but think that the bug will soon meet its end. Meanwhile, Raya holds on his arm with a dark face. Star suddenly asks for Riot's opinion on this. Riot is sweating and huffing due to the pain of his injury. He curses as he recalls the attack that caused his injury. Riot pulls himself together and answers Star. He tells her that the user's attacks won't really work. Even now, the enemy hasn't been damaged by those attacks. Star asks him why, and Riot says it's because the beam before them is a fragment of God. No, not this setup again. Back in the God realm, Peace watches over Star and Riot through the ember of all creation. He ponders Riot's words, thinking about where he heard them from. Luna casually calls Noob and asks what he's doing with a frown. She fidgets as she reminds him that they're in the middle of a battle. Peace only tells her he's done playing since they can't even kill each other and deems it uninteresting. The goddess of life then asks about the cooldown of the ember of all creation, remembering that it's supposed to be 24 hours, yet he's using it again. Peace then explains that it only applies if he's viewing the same thing. He is focusing on Riot this time, so it doesn't really count. Peace goes back to the topic of the fragment of God while Luna plops down beside him. He says that he's sure about hearing about it before. Luna prompts him to keep thinking about it since it's been a while. Peace does that, and he finally remembers hearing it back when Captain Love got kidnapped by Habake. It was Habake who mentioned it, saying Captain Love's Knuckles of Silence is a fragment of God since mythical rank equipment is referred to as one. Peace also recalls how Buttman tried to make money with those. Luna confirms this and specifies that any equipment mythical rank and above is a fragment of God. Peace thinks back and concludes that the enemy bug is as good as an item. Luna says it is and explains that they still have the same properties, even with different appearances. Peace was shocked that Luna confirmed this when he was only kidding about what he said. He suddenly imagines Captain Love wearing her Knuckles of Silence. Then an image of her wearing the nasty bud as her knuckles. That's a bizarre line of thought. Luna claims that regular users can't win this fight, and there's a reason. At the same time, in the front village, Riot explains that only fragments of God can damage another. The smoke starts dissipating from the bug-like enemy, and the users feel good from throwing attacks at it. It is to the point that even Jippery looks crazy. A sudden blast of green light incapacitates the users. The enemy bros as it finishes its attack. The users were all surprised that their attacks did nothing to the monster. Minchako curses at the foe's physical and magic resistance. Thinking it's too OP, she can't help but wonder how they can fight back and defeat it. The monster looms over the Chun-Li-like user, making the user cry in agony. No, not green Chun-Li. Star can only watch in despair and asks Riot what they can do. Star knows that most users only have unique rank items and only a few would have mythical rank. She recalls that another merchant bought all mythical rank items from the auction. Star pauses, remembering that the merchant is called the Great Merchant, and that is the Great Merchant Riot beside her. Star's eyes bulge out, remembering that Riot is the Great Merchant. Riot doesn't get why it is so shocking, but he still confirms it for Star. He admits that he indeed bought the mythical rank items in the market. Riot purchased each of them in preparation for that day. The monster continues to slaughter the other users, and it blasts another attack. It creates a massive explosion. Star does half of the iconic Marilyn Monroe pose as she struggles with a gust of wind. She asks Riot about a flashy counterattack using the stock of mythical rank items. Still, Riot says it's not their time. A red whip with a blade on its end suddenly slutters through and attacks the bug-like enemy. The attack damages its shell-like body, and the monster screeches with pain as it bleeds. The users were surprised that a simple attack worked while Star and Riot were relieved. Riot is glad that she's finally arrived. It was Leor with her favorite weapon. Leor continues to attack the enemy with her whip, relentlessly smacking at it. Riot says Leor's weapon is of mythical rank, meaning her attacks can work against other fragments of God. Leor's unique weapon is the Whip of Allure, a holy weapon of the heavenly realm. A holy weapon that looks unholy. Another being rushes in and punches the monster with all her might. The enemy falters and calls up at the impact. His attacker is the Demon King. Star brightens up at Love's arrival and is glad her attack worked against the enemy. Someone says this is only natural since Captain Love's weapon is ascendant rank. Eurus finally makes his reappearance and informs them that it was GU who gave Captain Love that weapon. Star rejoices upon seeing Eurus. She twirls the dragon around while expressing her worry and asks where he's been. Eurus gets another motion sickness due to the twirling. Poor Eurus. Star stops and pats Eurus on the back, asking if he got from far away after she died. Eurus confirms it as he pukes on the ground. Riot looks up and is amazed by the spectacle in front of him. He watches and comments on how Leor, the current leader of the heavenly realm, is with Love, the present demon king of the demon realm. Riot says this is the first time this kind of thing happened. Leor attacks from above the monster while Love kicks it from below. Riot claims it's the start of the greatest duo of heaven and hell. It's the perfect combo, really. Back in the God realm, Peace and Luna are watching them through the ember of all creation. Peace insults the fragment of God despite sounding like an epic boss. He claims that the battles seem to be over from that side. Luna smiles at him, saying it's not that easy. She reminds him of her previous words about how regular users can't win against it. Peace gets irritated and says they should just see how it'll end. Luna only smiles back and agrees. Going back to the battlefield, the bog lies lifeless on its back with the users around it. Suddenly, the large lump of meteor-like flesh wriggles, catching the attention of some users. The egg-like bumps on the surface wriggle, and everything suddenly blasts out as if it's shooting continuously. Each egg-like form drops to the ground with loud, resounding thuds. Screeching emerges from each one, and the users' faces fill with horror and realization. All users were now surrounded by numerous bug-like enemies. Oh, we've got an infestation. This game needs a bug spray. In the God realm, Luna smiles, claiming that she's correct and that he should never underestimate the final boss. She says that even if Love and Leor combine their abilities, they couldn't take this large amount of enemies. Luna reminds him that he can't help them since he's stuck in that realm with her. In the end, it'll be a bad ending for Chrono Light's last episode. Peace doesn't immediately react, but he suddenly smirks and laughs out loud. He claims that Roach Lady has been hyping it so much that he thought something real epic would happen. He expresses his disappointment and talks as if speaking through a microphone. Peace introduces himself like he's talking through a radio. He says that the others should respond if he can hear him. Peace shouts Eurus' name, finally catching Eurus' attention. Eurus looks around on the battlefield for Peace, wondering if he's hearing things. Peace explains his situation to Eurus, and Eurus asks if he's not hurt. Peace smiles at Eurus' concern, glad to have a true friend. He reassures Eurus that he's okay. Peace gets to the point of their communication and says he'll help him. Eurus is a bit confused by what Peace just said when he suddenly starts glowing. Peace also lights up as he recalls how their souls are connected. Peace says he can send his mana to Eurus even if they're in different dimensions. He announces that he'll send all of his mana to Eurus, so he should use that to return to his original form. He instructs Eurus to become Chrono Life's strongest boss monster once more. The twin-headed dragon, Eurus. Wow, are we in for a treat? Peace tells Eurus to get rid of the irritating bugs with a vicious expression. He adds that nothing should be left alive. Eurus thinks of it and accepts the commandment with a wicked face similar to Peace's. It's time to go crazy, Eurus. The peaceful land suddenly rumbles loudly as a massive winged being rises up with flashing eyes. Eurus is still in his cute form and growls loudly to be heard throughout the land. He claims that he's the strongest dragon of all and reveals his identity. Luna was imagining that this was what would happen, making Peace irritated for killing the vibe. I swear she's getting G's habit of lousy imagination. Going back to the matter at hand, Peace says that once Eurus consumes the mana he transferred, Eurus will return to his true form. He adds that Eurus won't be in the admirable and lovable form once it happens. Star watches in amazement as Eurus glows brightly. He's receiving the mana transfer from Peace and is notified that he now has enough mana to manifest his soul. Eurus starts manifesting his soul into reality, and a greater light flashes from him. Users cover their eyes, but Mr. PT remains unfazed since he has his shade on. Star and Riot cannot watch, but the same goes for the bugs, who are now growling at the sunlight. Eurus continues to shine as his cute form turns into a twin-headed small dragon. The small form grows big, and Star opens an eye to see this happen. Peace smirks as he watches. He compliments and welcomes Eurus as he returns to his proper form. Users were still blinded from before and could not open their eyes immediately. A vast shadow suddenly looms over them, and they can finally see what happened. Wings spread out widely, and two mouths filled with numerous sharp teeth flew open. The majestic true form of the twin-headed dragon graced the lands of Chrono Life once more. The bugs watch at the appearance of Chrono Life's strongest boss monster. Users look up at the dragon, standing still. Let's have a short recap first as to why the other head is there. Eurus' left head was destroyed before by Peace in the past, which was later revived by the goddess of life as Urakan. Peace absorbed Urakan using Veracity back when they fought. With Veracity, it made the twin-headed dragon whole once more within our MC. Back to our present story, the users were aghast at the reappearance of the strongest boss monster. A weapon falls to the ground, and the user shivers as she recalls the terror of this dragon. This is because of the monster boss proximity to the users. Eurus' nest, aka the ravine of the deceased, is located near the front village. It is to the point the newbies can walk to Eurus' nest if they desire. That's what our MC did. Every user of Chrono Life has stepped into Eurus' nest one way or another, and it usually stemmed out of curiosity. Upon reaching the ravine of the deceased, the users would usually stop in their tracks and look up with horror on their faces. The massive form of the twin-headed dragon only intensifies their terror, making them experience despair. And with his appearance, Eurus once more reminded the users of that fear. A user shudders as she looks up at Eurus. Star steps in and calls Eurus. She comes closer to the dragon with worry in her eyes. Star asks if he's on their side. Eurus looks down on Star. Eurus finally speaks in his true form and tells the mortals to leave if they want to be spared. He shouts at everyone to get moving, snapping the users out of their frozen state. Everyone runs away from the scene, with some users leaving their weapons behind. Star stays standing before Eurus, recalling their first meeting and the other times they spent together. I really love Star for existing. Star doesn't want to leave, but Eurus also tells Star to go. He says the area will soon turn bloody, so she should leave and run as far away as possible. At that exact moment, a horde of bug-like monsters surround them from one side. Eurus says that he doesn't really care for the others, but is a different matter when it comes to Star. Eurus swears to protect her no matter what. Star is surprised, for Eurus has never spoken to her that way before. Wright grabs Star's hand and tells her that they should go. He says that they should leave this fight to Eurus. Star finally listens and runs away with Rai holding her hand. She turns back to look at Eurus with tears in her eyes. Star shouts that Eurus can do it and reminds him not to get hurt. With Star finally away, Eurus announces he'll take care of the bugs. The monsters screech while Eurus provokes them. The enemy seem to have understood Eurus' words, and they all released a piercing sound. Their eyes light up, and each blasts a green light at Eurus. Eurus doesn't remain passive. Instead, his two necks light up as they prepare a skill. The light reaches up to his two mouths, and he blasts those toward the enemy bugs. A deafening big explosion lights up that side of the world. Users get thrown off the ground as the explosion makes the earth quake. Rai holds on to Star as it happens, keeping her stable. Riot can only think about how the fight is finally starting. He gulps, thinking how powerful Eurus' basic breath skill was, for it made the entire world shake. Even the sin of sloth is wary of our cute little mascot. As the strongest of the 7 sins, the sin of pride's attacks are lethal against fragments of God. This is mainly because the 7 sins defy the gods, making it possible for them to attack against fragments of gods. Eurus' attack eradicated many bugs and destroyed the land they were upon. More bugs were left, and they started attacking using their tentacle pincers. One hits Eurus on his side, but the enemy is confused because it is ineffective. Eurus glares at it, raises a clawed hand, and swipes at the bugs, destroying several of them. Eurus' booming voice resounds as he expresses the absurdity of the enemy for thinking that their attacks will work on him. His left head's neck lights up and releases a blast, slaying the bugs on its path. There is no doubt the fragments of God is nothing against Eurus. His tail swings down at the monsters, sending them to their ends, despite being the strongest boss monster within Chrono Life. No one expected that this dragon would aid the humans. Neither the gods nor Chrono Life system could have predicted. Only GU was able to see this coming. Our MC should be a seer. Peace laughs and cheers on Eurus. Luna says this is only natural for the strongest boss monster of Chrono Life as she clings to Peace. She admits that she can't defeat Eurus on her own and adds that even the joined forces of the rest of the 7 sins wouldn't be a sure win against the sin of pride. She claims that Eurus was just unlucky that he crossed paths with Noob and even became a cute mascot. I got that. There's no doubt Eurus is lucky that he did. Peace stares at her and asks how long she's been clinging to him. Luna smiles, saying it's been 5 minutes. Peace gets irritated and tells her to get off, but Luna doesn't comply and rubs her face against him. She even tells Peace to peg her or something. Peace doesn't force her to let go. Instead, he reminds her about the Garden of Eden thing she mentioned before. He tells her that it's not just the two of them within that realm. Luna gets a bit confused, but Peace simply points below him. A vendor pops out and looks at Luna and says some random crap. Luna's face changes upon seeing him, realizing that this guy has indeed been there the whole time. Great job in ruining the mood, Aventador. Back in the human realm, Eurus blasts another attack on the bugs with his breath, creating a massive explosion. The continuous booming sound and explosions were being watched by the injured Riot. He mulls over the fact that the strongest boss monster is the sin of pride, Eurus. The rest of the 7 sins all know that Eurus is the strongest. Yet, at this moment, Riot wonders if Eurus hasn't really never shown the extent of his powers. At that moment, Eurus growls out loud. What Riot thought it is actually correct. Eurus had never truly unleashed all of his powers. This is because everything he fought so far was weak. With his own strength, these fragments of God got destroyed, slaying 3,980 of those. Amidst those remains is Eurus, the possessor of that overwhelming strength. With titles such as the Sin of Pride and Chrono Light's strongest boss monster, there is no doubt the twin-headed dragon has once more descended. Star cheers and hops to where Eurus is for winning against those bugs. Yep, it was the perfect bug extermination. The Demon King, the ruler of the heavenly realm, and other users smile in agreement. But Eurus stops Star from getting closer. He says that he's only destroyed the fragments of God, and the enemy still lives. He looks at the meter like flesh that released all those bugs. Looking at it, Star realizes Eurus is right. She runs off and wishes Eurus good luck. Eurus starts flapping his broad wings, creating a gust of wind that even throws Star away. Eurus floats into the air and prepares to attack once more. His neck lights up as it charges, and his 2 mouths become filled with energy. Announcing that he'll end that war, Eurus blasts at the remaining flesh of God. The meteor-like entity starts to disintegrate from his attack, and Eurus continues to blast to the point that the land is even destroyed. Eurus' attack settles down, and Love looks at the remains of the enemy. While most of it is gone, some of its flesh remains. No way. Some of it still managed to survive. The remains wriggle, and Love realizes it's still alive. The wriggling flesh suddenly buzzes as it pixelates and changes form. Green cubes float into the air as remains continue to change. The users were confused by what they were seeing. Mint Choco asks if those are pixels, while Mr. PT wonders if it is something like Minecraft. The cube in front of Mint Choco suddenly glows and a light flashes out of it. The same thing happens with the other cubes, and a light combines into one. In the godly realm, Peace watches, with Luna still clinging to his side. He asks what those are and comments on how the pixels combine into one. Luna doesn't respond, and Peace demands an explanation from her. Luna continues to rub her face on Peace's arm, ignoring his words. This pisses him off, and he bites her head for not responding. Luna is completely shocked that Peace bit her and, of all places, her head. She questions him, but Peace only commands her to answer his question or he'll bite her more. Luna chuckles, asking if it's a promise. Peace doesn't answer and tries to hold his temper. Luna sighs and asks if he really is just unaware. She suddenly congratulates him for clearing Phase 3 and says he's now in the last step. Phase 4, also known as the final phase, She says it's time for the final boss to make his appearance. Are you sure this is indeed the last one? Back in the human realm, users watch at the warm glow with shock in their faces, glowing human feet, hands, and shining raised hair. Whether it is love, Leor, Riot, or Star, everyone looks at the human form of the god of destruction. Eurus doesn't say anything and simply watches. The god, with his unknown level in human form, has finally descended on the human realm. The god of destruction must be of Seum descent. Peace looks at the god of destruction through his ember of all creation. Red tears suddenly drip down from Peace's eyes. He is confused about what is happening, wondering if he is bleeding. Luna looks over him with worry etched in her face. Red tears drip from Love's eyes. And the same happens with the other users. A voice suddenly speaks, telling them not to worry, for it'll soon be okay. God speaks to the users for the first time. God floats toward Eurus, commenting on how Eurus has grown so much since he was just a hatchling. Eurus questions him, and he suddenly jolts and sees 3 eggs in God before those eggs. God smiles widely at the eggs. Are we going to have Eurus' backstory? Eurus' head throbs, confused at the memory he is seeing. God expresses how he doesn't understand why a being whose part of the 7 sins is not annihilating humans. Instead, this 7th sin is fighting alongside the humans. God calls Eurus by his title, the sin of pride. One of Eurus' necks lights up. He prepares to blast while saying that God reeks of appalling smell and tells him to disappear. Eurus finally releases a huge blast at God. The users tumbled at the intensity of Eurus' attack. Thick smoke starts to dispel, and God expresses his pity. Eurus is taken aback, but God remains unscathed from his attack. The god of destruction frowns as he states that he loves Eurus the most among the 7 sins, so he never expected that he must get rid of Eurus himself. He points at Eurus, and a small green light slowly shoots out of his finger. Eurus is befuddled by the lack of intensity. The green light hits him in the mouth, and the collision suddenly shines brightly to the point that Eurus gets engulfed by the green light and a large expanse of his surroundings. Eurus growls loudly in pain. Star watches with worry, unable to do anything for her friend. Eurus drops to the ground with a large thud. He calls up while the god of destruction gently descends to the ground. God says that Eurus truly is remarkable. Eurus picks himself up while God continues to speak about how even Aventador came with him. He says that he should be gone right after that attack. As for Gallardo, he was left where he belonged. In case you forgot, Eurus first mentioned Gallardo in chapter 42. He is the gargantuan dragon, known as one of the 3 strongest dragons of Chrono life. Eurus growls and raises a dragon hand. He uses it to swat God. The get was so strong to the point that the surrounding ground cracked, and the users were once more thrown off by the attack's impact. The land gets destroyed, and large boulders whoosh up. Eurus grows with anger. God scolds him for his senseless actions, while holding a finger up against Eurus' attack. God continues to glow, with some parts of him seeming to pixelize. The god of destruction questions Eurus if he even knows who he is, saying he already knows how this will end. He announces himself as a god. The end of his finger holding Eurus back glows green as energy whirs from it. With that one finger, he blasts a huge attack on Eurus. It is so massive that it can be compared to our MC's attacks. The users cover themselves from the gust of wind created by the attack. Star peeks at what happened despite the wind. Eurus' hand that attacked God is no more. Eurus growls and Star can't help but worry. Peace sees this all happening from his ember of all creation. He worriedly looks at Eurus and calls him through their connection. Peace tells him it's already enough and commands him to change for and run. Eurus doesn't answer, making Peace shout at him to respond. Eurus finally replies, saying that he can't follow his orders. Peace is surprised by Eurus' answer and asks him why. Eurus already felt it. He wanted to ensure that Peace would never meet this being called God. He knows full well that this being has the ability to take Peace's life. Eurus intends to protect his master and friend no matter what. He recalls their interactions and the times they spent together. Eurus knowingly chose this path and believes it to be his destiny. He plans to put everything on the line, even if it costs his life. I'm tearing up. Please don't sacrifice yourself, Eurus. Eurus releases another blast of attack from his mouth toward God. God then raises a hand, and the direction of Eurus' attack changes upward. Eurus is baffled by what just happened. God looks up at Eurus with a frown and sighs. He suddenly jumps up to appear in front of Eurus. While crossing his arms, God kicks Eurus, making the sin of pride cough. God is not yet done and stands in one of Eurus' wings. He grabs Eurus' flesh and rips a wing off him with his own hands. The wing's loss makes Eurus falter and lose the ability to fly. Those who were watching were utterly stunned by what God just did. Eurus falls to the ground. and God steps back on the ground before Eurus falling form. God raises one finger and points it at Eurus as it glows green. Star angrily reacts to this and pulls out her hammer. With tears in her eyes, she runs toward God. Our Star is genuinely courageous. The god of destruction only sighs and points his finger instead at Star. The girl merchant falters as God attacks Star. The users were stunned by what was happening and could not act. The land becomes bright with the green light from God's attack. Star can only close her eyes while waiting for the attack to hit her. Realizing that she's okay, she opens the eyes. Eurus is before her, with a hole in his chest. Eurus protected Star from getting hit. Tears pour down on Star's face as she sees this. Seeing Eurus protect a human, God is still not yet finished. He points a finger at Eurus, and a bright green light emerges from it once more. He releases it right at Eurus, who has already fallen before him. Eurus suffers more damage from the attack, and Star can't do anything but watch this happen. Feeling merciless, God kept on releasing bursts of attacks at Eurus. Star continues to cry, Seem is right before her. Eurus stays there, accepting the numerous attacks from the god of destruction. He knows that moving means putting Star in danger. Star can only cry out loud at this. He'll sacrifice himself for Star, even though he knows Star can reset. Eurus doesn't want her to experience any pain within the game. Eurus tells her not to cry. Star calls for Eurus, who endures the explosions of the attacks in his tattered body. He says he's still protecting her, and if Star cries, he knows that peace will be sad. Tears continue to flow from her eyes as she remembers how she met Gu in real life. Star tries to hold back and tells Eurus that even if she dies, she can still respawn. Star shakes as she says that it's not the same for Eurus. She knows what it means if Eurus dies and pleads with him to run away. Eurus looks at her and says that he is the soul of an eagle's sword. He may be a piece of weapon, but he knows that materializing as a unique boss means his data will get erased once he meets his end. Even if this is true, Eurus still believes that peace will be fine. Anyone can take that place. Star smiles sadly and tells him that she is not talking about peace. Instead, she's talking about him. Star asks if Eurus will genuinely be okay if that happens. If dying and not seeing peace anymore is something that he can bear. Help. I need tissues. God never stopped attacking Eurus. The dragon remained resistant to the attacks regardless of the heavy injury. He says Peace's name and recalls old memories. It was a memory of how an egg just hatched, and out of it came the twin-headed dragon. Eurus' backstory is now starting. Though a hatchling, the dragon has a weird voice in its head that commands it to kill all humans. The small dragon heeded its command and filled the land with human skulls. One by one, humans were killed. The count increased to tens, hundreds, and thousands. It was an unending cycle of killing that lacked reason. This was the life Eurus led, for there was no way for him to end it on his own with that voice dominating him. His presence means absolute demise for humans. Despite the control over him, the dragon still has his doubts. He questions the necessity of slaying humans. The dragon watched the humans react with despair all this time, and in those moments, he never found it amusing. Doubt filled him as time moved forward. His skepticism finally made him realize he didn't want to kill humans. So he flew off, but a buzzing sensation stopped him as he did. This occurred whenever he thought of it. The voice filled his head, reminding him to kill humans. Is the voice some program that will ensure Eurus keeps on killing humans? Instead of proceeding with his flight, the twin-headed dragon would turn back and slay those humans even though he didn't want to. Over time, his doubt transformed into another feeling called loneliness. One day, monsters under his legion came to him. They reported the activity of a human who went to the ravine of the deceased. The fourth commander asked him for the order to slay this intruder. Eurus rejected this, saying he'll deal with it himself. He flies up to the sky, grimly amused for feeling something for the humans that he had slayed when he had no right. A human wearing a tattered cloak calmly walks into Eurus' nest. The dragon finds the human only wearing underwear beneath the cloak and a wooden stick in hand. Oh, is our MC Eurus found the whole thing ridiculous. But there is no doubt that the human is new to adventuring. The dragon was expectant, and it turned into disappointment. He admits to himself that he's a bit looking forward to slaying this human before him. At the same time, he knows that he'll be disappointed by the time it ends. Unlike the order given to him, the dragon truly loves the humans. They must still comply with the voice. He fully knows that the only way for him to finally escape that cycle is if he meets a human who is stronger than him. The dragon drops to the ground and faces the human. He hopes to meet someone who can finally finish the worthless bloodshed imposed on him. Don't worry. Eurus of the past. You're facing that human right now. With it, his pain will also end. Eurus, the twin-headed dragon, face the human in all his glory while anticipating the disappointment he'll soon face. Eurus growls out loud, expressing a lot of emotions in that sound. He knows it will take decades before a human can catch up to the strength as the strongest being in the land of chrono life. He compliments the valor of the human before him and promises the mortal's end. But Eurus has faith and belief that it will happen someday. So, today, like any other day, he faces the human and intimidates him. It was at that time that his twin head had perished. It's also the day he has been waiting for all his life. Eurus looks at the non-existent twin head and at the human who talks to himself about having a few strikes left. The human claims that he'll defeat the strongest boss of the game. The dragon flinches at those words and tries to talk his way through that situation. But our MC doesn't let him and simply swings his wooden stick. The attack leaves Eurus in a precarious state. He is surprised by the existence of this human, knowing that he'll meet his end with one more strike. With one strike left on his wooden stick, Peace complains about his weapon's durability in the system. Hearing this, Eurus looks at the human and asks about the durability problem. Eurus swears that he can help regarding that matter, and this successfully stops Peace from striking one last time. Like what happened in the second chapter, Eurus shares his knowledge of the eagle's sword. He does this because he still wants to live. While he wants to end his curse of killing humans against his will, it doesn't mean that he's willing to disappear just like that. Eurus respectfully refers to Peace as Sir, explaining how he can become the human's weapon by transferring his soul to it. Once that happens, the weapon will have consciousness as it evolves into an eagle's sword. On top of this, it'll gain infinite durability. Eurus explains that an eagle's sword is the highest rank of weapon within chrono life. Peace finds this amusing and laughs out loud. Eurus respectfully asks once more while Peace continues to laugh. Peace's demeanor changed. Thinking that he'll soon get revenge made his face scary. Eurus can only tremble at the sight. Peace accepts Eurus' offer, turning Eurus into a soul that enters Peace's wooden stick. That was the birth of the plus 99 reinforced wooden stick with an eagle rank, and it is how Eurus' soul got attached to Peace's. After that day passed, Eurus turned small into a cute mascot for our MC. He still hears the voice that commands him to kill humans. Eurus would suggest annihilating the humans because of it. After time passed, the instance of hearing that voice lessened, and he finally reached the point where it didn't affect him anymore, like a bothersome buzz. Eurus now has someone who is remaining by his side. His adventures to Peace are the highlight of his life. There is no doubt that Peace awakened him from a very long nightmare. For Eurus, Peace is his best friend. Eurus remains resilient against the continuous barrage of attacks from a god of destruction. Star doesn't want this, but Eurus has resolved himself. He believes this is the time for him to give back to Peace for everything. He wants to make sure that Peace won't meet this god. God suddenly stops firing, surprised when a dragon's hand suddenly looms over him. Eurus grabs God, announcing that he'll take him down with him. God asks if the twin-headed dragon plans to self-destruct, and Eurus easily says he will. Eurus starts to glow as he holds God in his hand. The god of destruction didn't struggle free. Instead, he asks the sin of pride if the command he engraved on his mind remains there. This god did that to Eurus. Please slay this dude, GU. Eurus doesn't respond, making God question why he's siding with the humans to the point that he is willing to sacrifice his life. Eurus once more felt the sensation of the voice planted in his head, but he had long overcome it. He dismisses the question as absurd. The hold of the voice's command in his head beeps and falters until it finally gets destroyed. Eurus says that he loves humans and then corrects himself, proudly announcing that he loves Peace. The twin-headed dragon glows brighter, and everyone watches as it happens. Star cries out in distress as a massive explosion takes place and where Eurus and God were. Eurus is tired, but there is something that he regrets. While recalling his time of Peace, his eyes drift close. Eurus' wish was to see Peace once more as the smoke completely envelops him. In the dark, starry night, a black cake flows along the wind. Peace carries Eurus' small form in his arms. Finally, he's back. He smiles and sighs at Eurus' bullheadedness. Peace fondly looks at the dragon in his arms, saying he did well. I just hope Eurus will live. Star continues to cry, this time in Riot's arms. Love, Laywar, and the other users can only watch as Star wails in despair. She kept on shouting for Eurus, not accepting what happened. Riot mulls over what happened with Eurus self-destructing while in his true form as a unique boss. This indicates complete deletion. Riot can only surmise that Eurus is now forever gone. Peace gently steps into the ground with Eurus in his arms. Everyone is surprised to see that Peace has returned. Star calls for him. Upon realizing that Eurus is in his arms, Star quickly stands up and goes to him. She asks Peace if Eurus is okay. Peace smiles and reassures her that Eurus is fine, and that he only fainted for using too much of his power. Tears drip from Star's eyes, and she falls to the ground with relief. She cries out once more, thankful that Eurus survived. Eurus groans softly, and Peace asks if he's awake. Eurus softly calls for his mom, making Peace wonder if the dragon is only talking in his sleep. He concludes that Eurus must be comfortable in his arms and finds this cute. Eurus continues to call for his mom, saying that he's hungry. He suddenly sucks on Peace's chest. What kind of development is this? Our MC lets Eurus continue, and he responds with his usual disgusting behavior. Love quickly reacts, pulling Eurus from Peace and throwing him to the ground. Not the best way to treat an injured being, even if it is a dragon. Peace does another unbearable reaction while Love asks him what he's even doing when Star is watching. Peace cries, saying he didn't do anything at all. At that moment, Star is unaware of what happened because Leiwer managed to cover the kid's eye just in time. Love then scolds Peace for not wearing anything. You should have told him that from the first time you met him, Love. Eurus groans again. This time, he sits up with wide open eyes. He is surprised to find Peace. Our MC smiles to find Eurus awake and asks how he's doing. Still feeling out of it, Eurus admits that he felt like he got something sweet and delicious. Peace blushes when he learns it is sweet, while Love can only stare at them with no trace of amusement on her face. Returning to the point, Eurus asks how he's still part of the living despite self-destructing with that god. Only then does he realize he's back to the soul form. The memory irks Peace, and he starts pulling at Eurus' cheeks. Be careful, Chiyu. Eurus didn't eat the gum-gum fruit like a certain straw. He reveals how he turned Eurus back to the soul form before dying from self-destruction. Peace angrily scolds Eurus for disobeying his orders when he no doubt commanded him to run. Peace tells Eurus that he can't recover mana while in the godly realm, so things would have been real dangerous if he didn't make it in time. Eurus accepts the punishment and apologizes. Peace finally lets go of Eurus' cheeks, agreeing that Eurus should indeed be sorry since he worried many people about what he did. He brings down Eurus and holds the dragon towards Star. Eurus calls her name, and Star silently takes Eurus from Peace's hands. The dragon pales, thinking that he's in for another ride. Oh. Not another motion sickness-inducing ride from Star, unexpectedly. Star only hugs him tightly with tears in her eyes. Star's happy that Eurus survived and tightens her HUD on him. Eurus blushes and stutters as he tells her about his inability to breathe. He asks to be released, but Star stubbornly tells him no. Love and Peace watch them with idiotic grins on their faces. Love looks at Peace and asks how he escaped from the godly realm. She apparently learned from Riot that he got stuck there. Peace sighs, revealing his thoughts of being forever stuck there. Though it irritates him, he must admit it was only possible because of that roach. Really? Luna helped Peace get off that realm? I guess a Venomer was a big turnoff. As if being called, Luna gently drops to the ground, finally making her presence known. Love looks at Luna and asks if Peace is pretending to Roach Lady. Luna suddenly staggers and slumps toward Peace. Our MC only watches Luna silently, with a bit of worry in his face. Love shouts at Roach Lady for being flirty with Peace and demands her to let go of him. Out of the blue, Peace tells Captain Love that he'll let Roach Lady lean on him in the meantime. Love is a bit confused by Peace's unusual reaction. That is indeed unusual. She finally sees Roach Lady sweating profusely while panting. Luna suddenly coughs up, entirely bewildering Love. Luna suddenly drops to the ground and continues to pant. Love worriedly asks what's wrong. It still has the guts to joke about Roach Lady swallowing some bug spray. Peace even thinks that the last part is inappropriate. He tells Captain Love to be nice since Roach Lady will soon meet her end. This statement caught Love off guard, and she probes this issue with disbelief. Star continued to hug Eurus tightly, though she did hear the commotion. At the same time, Eurus is obviously enjoying the attention. Face wagging his tail a lot. Still doubtful, Love points at Luna and asks if she's truly dying. Luna looks up at them with sweat and blood on her face. Here's a flashback of what happened in the godly realm. Seeing Star crying while Eurus is about to die made Peace berserk in the godly realm. He swings his wooden stick multiple times, creating chaos in that space. Luna comments on his fighting spirit and attempts to destroy the godly realm. She tells him this is pointless since that realm can't be destroyed. Peace glares at her and tells her to shut it unless she wants to be ruined first. Luna is shocked by Peace's contempt, but manages to smile after a thought. She asks about his anger, asking if this is caused by the possibility of Eurus' death. Luna speaks of the bond of the two and reminds him that the other is only an AI. She questions his investment in pixels, saying it is only a game. Luna should ask the same question to the NFT investors. P stops throwing attacks and sighs at her question. He smiles, saying that she might be right about that, and then he suddenly bonks her strongly in the head, negating what he just said. Luna groans and shudders in pain while Peace looks at her and lectures her about her crap. He tells her to log off as she keeps spouting such nonsense. Luna peeks at him and smiles. She remarks on his determination and his concern for Eurus. Peace frowns, asking if she finds his worry for a game character ridiculous. Luna looks at him with sad eyes. With a smile, she admits that she does find it silly because she herself is the same. The unexpected answer confuses Peace, but Luna only grins. She tells him to ready himself, for she'll aid him in getting out of that realm. Peace continues to frown, dubious of Roach Lady's intentions. He questions her for everything she previously said and demands her to make an honest decision. Luna looks down and says that what she said is true. She asks if Peace remembers their first meeting in Front Village. Peace says he does, adding how it is the most irritating day of his life. Right at that time, our MC is busy thinking of a lovey-dovey future with Luna. Luna smiles, saying that they have had numerous experiences together ever since. She recalls meeting him offline in his house, their first kiss, their sewer date, enjoying the food she cooked, and her car ride to the beach. Luna knows that she got him confused by her actions and speculates that Noob didn't understand. Luna says this is why she likes him and why Yuan Sheik herself is confused. Now that they've reached that point, Luna could finally decide. Peace feels wary from what she's saying when he really doesn't care since he's more concerned about saving Eurus. Luna sadly smiles at his response. With time of essence, she asks if Noob still has the jewel she gave him before and asks him to take it out. Peace blankly looks at her, asking what jewel she's talking about. He adds that he doesn't remember such a thing. Our MC really needs to improve his memory. Luna can only remind him, though it does make her sad that Noob forgot about it. She blushes as she mentions that it was the day that they had their first kiss. Peace flinches at what she said, finally recalling what Roach was referring to. Peace remembers that it happened when he faced Yufa and how Luna did give him a jewel with unknown details. Peace checks his clothes, looking for the item that Luna mentioned. He finally finds it and pulls it out. The item still has question marks on it with a mythical rake. Luna smiles, seeing that Noob still has it with him. Peace dismisses the affection, saying he only accepted it since it's free. He asks what the item is for, saying that he never found any details regarding that jewel. Luna explains this is only because she made the item herself. She mentions how a creator must assign its name for it to appear on the database. With that, she says that the item is called God's Jewel, and it is an item that has all of her powers as the goddess of life. Upon her words, the jewel's name gets updated along with its information. Luna explains that the godly realm exists for gods. With her being a goddess, the godly realm will be destroyed if she dies. To summarize, destroying the jewel means Noob can lead the godly realm. Luna was about to mention other information, but Peace had already destroyed it with his hand. Typical Jiyu. Peace acts nonchalantly and asks what Roach Lady is about to say. Luna only stares at him with a grimace. She asks if he really can't listen to an explanation before doing anything. Peace only laughs, saying it's his habit to skip the tedious talk. Since it's already gone, Luna can only sigh, saying that it's okay since there's no doubt they'll still destroy the jewel even after hearing what she has to say about it. A loud cracking sound catches Peace's attention, making him look up. The space above them cracks, and the two watch as it happens. Luna remarks on how long it took them to reach that point, and now she will see the end of it. Peace only looks at her comment, and that ends our flashback. Love once more asks if Roach Lady is really going to die. Luna confirms this and reminds Noob of how there are important things that you should remember. She finally gets to say them now. Luna says the first one is that the jewel contains her life. Next is that the powers of a god wouldn't disappear. Instead, this will be transferred, which is the case for her abilities as a god. Love suddenly looks at Peace upon hearing these words, and she can't help but wonder if Peace will become a god. Luna calls our MC Noob, but she corrects herself and calls him Peace. The tears in her eyes, she pleads with him to save the world of Chrono Life. Peace stares at her. With his title as a Master Novice, the advancement process of God has started, and it is now at 38%. The night is filled with stars, and Peace glows brightly, brightening the night. A notification appears, indicating the job advancement. His ummi shines so brightly, the same with the rest of his body. His cotton white brief changes into a skirt similar to Luna's. The same thing happens with his top. With the job advancement completion announcement, Peace poses coolly as he becomes the goddess of life. My eyes need to be cleaned with holy water again, but I must admit that G's muscles are impressive. but it seems that it's not really his. Peace cutely says boom. Love is imagining all of this in her head, and the three of them found this awful. Both Peace and Luna comment on Love's repulsive imagination. Leor, Star, and Eurus watch them, and Leor suddenly blushes, saying it's not that bad. The others seem to be worse than our MC when it comes to unpleasant imagination. Luna sighs at the ridiculous train of thought of these people. She explains that Noob wouldn't become the goddess of life since the only thing being transferred to him is her powers as a god and not her job. Though she is at death's door, Luna explains how Noob will become a god based on his proclivity in playing criminal life. Peace is surprised that this is how it will be determined. Love thinks about it, thinking that Peace will become the god of perverts. Some users imagine he'll be the god of destroying planets, while Minchaco envisioned that he'd be the god of underwear. I can't help agreeing with those ideas. It's highly probable. Luna says there are numerous possibilities, but there's one thing that she personally believes. She announces her certainty on what kind of god Noob will become, but she is cut off before she can even say it. A green light stabs her right in the chest, and Luna falls with a thud. Love shouts for Roach Lady, shocked by what happened. Way to ruin the moment, God. God steps in, saying that she should have kept her mouth shut, and accuses Luna of being a traitor. Luna calls up in pain from the attack. Riot holds onto his upper arm, surprised that this god is still part of the living. Eurus curses for he could not prevent Peace from facing the god of destruction. God compliments Eurus for his sheer power, admitting how he never expected Eurus to even opt for self-destruction. He says this only proves why he is the strongest of the 7 sins, but it's still not enough to take him down. Someone happily comments on God's presence. It was Peace, and he greeted God while cursing him at the same time. He mentions that the last time they spoke was when the war with the Amphimorphs happened. Peace says they couldn't catch up earlier since he was in his hideous monster form. Now that he's in his human form, Peace asks if God even remembers what transpired. Do bugs have good memories? God replies that he does remember and calls Peace his friend. God mentions that everything that occurred was all to lead them to that moment. Luna calls some more of Love holding on to her. Love worriedly looks at Roach Lady, realizing her wounds are worse than expected. Judging it, she can say that there are only a few moments left for Luna. Love feels bitter for seeing Roach Lady like this. She knows she should be rejoicing that this is finally happening, but she can't bring herself to hate Roach Lady in her last moments. Honestly, I feel the same way, even though I still prefer Love. Love tells Luna to wake up, for she lacks healing skills to help her. She tells her to use her skills as the goddess of life on herself. Luna mumbles that she can't and compares herself to a pierced balloon. She explains how her goddess powers are almost gone, so she can't use any of her divinity of light skills. Aside from this, the attack she received from the god of destruction is laced with divinity, making it impossible to use healing skills on her. Peace looks back at the dying goddess of life and asks God if he really has to do such a thing when it's apparent that she's about to reach her end. God says they also have feelings, and he's only punishing her for being a traitor. Peace asks how Roach Lady even betrayed him. The god of destruction thinks about it and says there have been some situations, though it is difficult for him to explain. When he thinks about it, he feels like Luna has been on the side of humans all this time. Are we having Roach Lady's redemption arc now? Peace asks what he means by that when it is evident that Roach Lady made sure to get rid of humans with every chance she could take. God admits that he did think the same, but he concluded that it was done intentionally to deceive him. He says he has doubts, and seeing the end doesn't make him happy. Peace ponders what God said and says that Luna is actually better than a roach. He thinks that Luna is more of a bat in this case. Luna and Love don't say anything, but it's obviously not the time for Peace to think of such things. Yep, our MC is consistent in coming up with weird things. Peace walks towards God and says it might be how her character's story has been set up. He thanked God for taking the time to explain it nonetheless. Peace stops before the god of destruction and looks up at him. He says that God already knows that he doesn't like story dialogue, but he can skip this time since it's him. The last boss of Chrono Life. God looks back at Peace, calls him his friend, and says he wants to ask him something. Peace suddenly swings up, creating an explosion right at the god of destruction's face. Really? Chiyu? I thought there's no more skipping this time. The explosion is so massive to the point that it reaches out of the planet, and God faces it head-on. Back in the real world, a Chrono Life staff announces the fight of God and Peace to their boss. CEO Bei Choi comments on it. He says they should just sit back and watch the outcome that will determine their company's future. The CDL then grins, saying that they at least have the stronger one on their side. Who is he referring to exactly? Back in the game, Peace leaps up and asks God what he's going to ask him. He then swings down at God, sending him plummeting to the ground with a large blast. The impact destroys the land and throws off the other users. The earth rumbles, and as the smoke dissipates, it is revealed that Love and the others are okay. She was able to react in time to protect them with her clutches of death skill. Riot looks at the skill protecting them, realizing it is the same skill that the Sin of Envy used when it took complete control of the Demon King's body. Riot is surprised that she used such a skill to protect them. Captain Love has been honing her skills. Love desynchronizes and deactivates the essence of the Demon King. She sighs in relief as her horns and wings disappear. Love asks if everyone is okay. Star immediately compliments Love, and Eurus does the same by mentioning her quick reaction speed. Love admits she somewhat expected it to happen since Peace doesn't really hold back when fighting. Another explosion occurs near them, and everyone can only watch as it happens. Seeing destruction near them, Love suggests they should just leave. Riot asks where they would even go when the whole planet is literally at risk. They can all hear the chaos Peace is causing, and Riot can only hope that Peace won't destroy the planet in the process. He might. They should bring this fight somewhere else. At that moment, Peace swirls his wooden stick and smacks God's shoulder with it. Then he unleashes a million strikes, continuously hitting God. The god of destruction accepts each hit, yet he still calls Peace his friend. This makes Peace pause. God finally asks why Peace is siding with the humans when they only ruin the tranquility and gifts they were given by creating wars, slaying one another, and destroying the land. God believes that these humans don't deserve the privilege of life. Peace frowns at his question and asks if that is the question he wants to ask earlier. He manages to be patient and agrees with what God says. He reiterates how humans tend to destroy things, hurt others, and even have regrets. Peace then smiles, saying that there's still hope in the ability of humans to change. With a genuine smile, Peace says this is how things have been since they were born. Huh? Is this really our disgusting MC? God is stunned by Peace's response to his question and doesn't get what Peace means. Peace admits that he doesn't understand it himself, and just laughs it off while bonking God in the head. Woo, he's back to normal. God flinches at Peace's attack, finally experiencing for himself what the others have gone through. With a smug look, Peace reveals that he just said that since it sounded cool. He tells God to stop the drama. Peace gathers energy in his stick and activates the soul of the giant's skill, which lets him increase his attack power and range by 1000%. The skill activates, and Peace smiles as he uses Swing Up. His attack is even more significant than any attacks he has thrown before. Smoke for his attacks recoil filled the air, but God was still doing fine despite the attack. He was surprised to see that his friend's attack actually sent him far away from the planet. But more surprisingly, Peace is there with him. Our MC expresses his own shock and admittedly tells God about how he put enough strength in his attack that God is still fine, as long as God's stats are not similar to the CEO's. You still has a chance. Peace points his wooden stick at God, announcing his knowledge of how mythical rank weapons and above would work. Peace can't help but wonder if eagle rank weapons are the exception to this. God looks behind him at Peace and admits his confusion about his friend's obvious question. God says that the reason is because he is stronger than Peace. Peace flicks his wooden stick down and thinks they should try it out. Our MC gets serious as he dashes towards God. He strikes God with his stick, creating bursts of explosion. The long blast is akin to the one he did before, but Peace was stunned. He finds a finger holding back his weapon. Peace quivers with anger at this. God merely looks at him and announces that it's time for him to quiet down. He blasts Peace with that green light of his that makes Peace cough up. Peace stutters in pain, saying it's nothing since he still has his healing factor skill. But before he could even use it, a notification appears, telling him that he was damaged by an attack that has divinity of destruction. This nullifies the use of the healing factor skill, making Peace incapable of healing. Peace's heart beats fast, dazed by what just happened. Not this again. Does our MC have to hit himself again just so he could recover? God calls Peace his friend and reveals he felt close to him when they first met. He explains this is why he kept on calling him a friend. God says it'll be the first and last time he'll ask him something. God invites Peace to join him. Peace struggles as he looks at God, surprised to hear such a thing. The god of destruction explains that ST-389, also known as the plane of chrono life, is infested with users that act as viruses of that world. God says he must clean ST-389 of these viruses, the reason why Mother created him. To summarize, the viruses are the humans, and God is the antivirus. And God calls himself the vaccine. At that moment, Peace's advancement progress to become a god is 54%. With this rate, it'll probably take 2 or more chapters before G becomes a god in Chrono Life. Peace clenches his teeth and summarizes what the god of destruction just said. He says he heard something similar from a villain in another movie, admonishing the plagiarism. God explains that it is only a metaphor to make Peace understand, for he knows full well that Chrono Life is nothing but a virtual world. It's admirable that the NPCs of Chrono Life are aware of this fact. God then restates it, saying it is more accurate to say he is the vaccine program for Chrono Life. Peace looks at him with understanding and compares the god of destruction to some of the existing antivirus programs. God wonders if his friend truly understands him and just agrees, since there's nothing wrong with the statement. God goes back to the topic and says that his observation of humans led him to the conclusion that all users are viruses. He explains how they were more negative than positive in the user's actions. It's why he's cleaning up the place by slaying everyone. Peace stares at God, baffled by what he just heard. He then sighs, saying that God is sicker than he initially thought and that God may be a blockhead. Peace explains that they're not in reality, so killing the users in the game is pointless since they'll just reset no matter how much they die. He even adds that the god of destruction doesn't have the veracity skill to take the user's data. And it's a good thing he doesn't. Stubborn, God claims he'll continue slaying everyone. He'll repeat it no matter how long it takes until all those users reach the point of abandoning Chrono Life. Peace is incredulous at how an AI program like the god of destruction can be so much like a spoiled brat. He says that the developers aren't idiots, and he can't just get away with what he wants. God suddenly grins widely. Simultaneously, CEO Gyupe Choi does the same in the real world. The god of destruction has gone completely crazy as he mentions the phrase how the stronger one is on their side. This sentence was finished by the CEO of Chrono Life, a repeat of his previous remarks to the staff. No way. The CEO intended this. Back to the game, God suddenly makes his move and appears behind Peace in a flash. Calling Peace his friend, God gives him a bit of advice. Peace is dumbfounded by God's movement, and he couldn't react fast when God suddenly kicked him. Peace groans as he coughs up. Unfinished, God appears where Peace is still in the middle of getting thrown off and tells him to forget the concept of developers siding with the users. God then chops Peace with his foot, hitting him right in the gut. Peace suffers, while the god of destruction still has that crazed look on his face. The attack sends Peace back to the ground in a tremendous crash. Love and the others were surprised by the sudden gust. Lewa expresses her distress upon seeing the brave warrior injured. God drops back to the ground right before Peace. Love and the others were surprised the god remains unscathed, and they could only think how Peace must have lost. The god of destruction speaks up, saying how the hairy old man left all the decisions in that fight. He explains that the old man is actually now on either side. Oh, so that was what he meant. The editing flow of the previous part made it sus. Still, on the ground, Peace holds onto his injury, not saying anything. God looks down at him, saying that it looks like the fight has been concluded. Calling Peace again his friend, God gives him another chance to choose. He asks if he will join him or if he is willing to experience death numerous times. Peace doesn't really say anything, and everyone is surprised to hear this offer from God. The god of destruction looks at him and sighs. He suddenly turns his back on Peace, claiming to have a soft spot for him. God recalls how he mentioned earlier that it was his last chance, yet here he is, giving Peace another one. Huh, has God fallen hard for GU? God approaches the group of Love and the others as he tells his friend to think about it. So till he decides, he'll be playing with the other dirty viruses before him. Love shudders at the announcement, and she and Lewa prepare to fight back. God smiles widely at the scene before him, admitting that he didn't expect such a duo to have the Demon King and the ruler of the angels join forces despite their history and uses God. God points a glowing green finger at them, admitting how slaying them makes it more interesting. A loud sound suddenly catches everyone's attention. God identifies the sound from a trumpet and finds a Simo user blowing the trumpet hard. He comments on the human's willingness to perish just to get his attention. God was sure that the impact of their previous fights slayed the users or at least made them run away, so it's surprising to find survivors. God redirects his hand, intending to make a quick work of the discord. But before he can continue, numerous flags rise up behind a mountain as the trumpet blares out. This confuses Love a bit, and someone comments on the dramatic entrance. The voice was Luna, who was struggling to sit up. Love is surprised to find that Luna is still alive, and Luna claims that she would die easily. She's about to mention that she is known as a roach, but stops herself. You forgot. You've been promoted to a bat. Luna corrects herself, saying she is the goddess of life. Though her time is depleting, she is still thankful that what she'd been waiting for finally shows up, and they are the top 5 Alliance Guild. The leaders of the top 5 guilds make their appearance. There were Sohu, Saintly, and Abracadabra. Hawkeye is also there, and like the pro streamer that he is, he's Kirby streaming. He greets his viewers and encourages them to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification. His viewers welcome him back in the chat and mention how he's been gone for some time. Hawkeye comments on this and announces that they've been lying low, for they are the true hidden aces of that final battle. The chat laughs at his goal, and one even comments on how he thought Hawkeye was the comic relief. Yeah, so true. Love is cheerfully surprised by their presence, and Hong and her guild appear right on time. She greets Love, and Love quickly rushes into her for a hug. Luna manages to stand up on her own and limps toward them. Luna asks if they're ready, and Hong confirms they just made it on time. Love looks at them with questioning eyes and asks what it is about. Hong looks at Luna and tells Love how Luna asked her for a favor. She says that she was only able to complete it recently. Love asks what the favor was and when it happened. Hong says it's been some time since it happened. It's another flashback ride. Peace is announcing to everyone how he's selling equipment from Eurus Nest in preparation for the fight against the Infomorphs. It was on this day that Hong and Luma spoke. At that time, Hong asked about Love's level while Luna watched over Peace's activities with a bored look. Hong recalls how she was surprised at the fast rate of Love's progress and cheered for her. She has high hopes in her fight against the Infomorphs, and she hasn't much clue regarding the situation back then. Luna sighs and mentions how the ancient Infomorphs aren't what they should really focus on. Hong is surprised by Luna's claims. Luna stands up and walks, asking Hong to follow her for an important conversation. Hong complies, and they get themselves alone in an alley. Hong asks what they will discuss. Luna turns off her goddess mode and returns to her OG look. Hong is speechless, and Luna explains how she's constantly being watched in her goddess mode. Luna says it is God. The god of destruction is right to have trust issues with Luna, but he's literally a stalker at this point. Luna then tells Hong that what they will discuss must remain between them. Back to the present, Hong tells Love how she learned the truth from Luna, of how God is the final boss of Chrono Life, and the battle against him requires preparation. So she kept her promise to Luna to keep this secret. Love asks about these preparations. Hong grins as she announces that all 3,890 top 5 Guild Alliance members are equipped with mythical rank weapons. Hong looks at Luna and tells her she should lead the top 5 Guild Alliance. Hong reveals her feelings on how there's more chance of winning if Luna leads them. She also mentions that the others already know of this. Luna thinks about it and agrees with Hong's proposal. Luna steps in and swings her staff, commanding every top 5 Guild Alliance member to attack God. Every member obeys her commands, and they all rush in towards God. Luna really should take over. Just imagine GU leading the users. It'll be utter chaos. God is amused by this development and comments on the players' foolishness for their keenness in meeting their end. He raises his hand as he ridicules them for their audaciousness and says he'll play with them for a bit. God brings his hand to the ground, and green lights burst in small, numerous forms. Green blobs of flesh rise from the earth. Each chunk sloshes as it forms into something akin to a man, and the green rising flesh groans as they rise. Love looks at those beings with disgust and calls them zombies. Luna says those are fragments of God. Though looks different now. Those are the same as the bugs from before. Love worries about how they can only be fought with mythical rank items. She is horrified as to why God would even make such disgusting things instead of blasting power from his finger like usual. Luna answers her, saying that God is literally playing with them just to humor them. Luna looks at Love and tells her this is their best chance. She says that she is sure the Riot warned them beforehand about how this war would require everyone's input. Luna asks if Love still doesn't understand and calls her the Demon King, the leader of the demon realm. Love thinks over Luna's words and finally understands what Riot meant. Resolved, Love activates the essence of the Demon King. Love's horns and wings appear and start sinking. The noise is comparably lower than before at 0.9%, and her sync status is stable. With red eyes, Love summons for her right hand, Death. Finally, we're seeing the inner mascot. Death appears before his master and greets her. Love announces that all demons will join the final war of Chrono Life and commands Death to open the dimensional portal to the demon realm. Death smiles wickedly at the command, fulfilling the great Demon King's desire. God was taken aback by what was happening. Death immediately opened the dimensional portal and released the demons from the demon realm. The demons make their appearance while the fragments of God groan. That's it. We'll just call them zombies moving forward. The demons fly into the human realm, and love orders all demons to attack. Guys, that's the end of the video. If you like this video, please leave a comment in the comment section. Also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Like the video and share it too. Thank you for watching and see you next time again.